Greetings and salutations, travelers. Welcome back to the Inn of Planar Crossroads. And as always, welcome back to our Around the Hearth discussions. This time, we are discussing wicked wasteland weather. So, that's the plan for this time. We've got some environmental hazards for you guys out there in your post-apocalypse. Before we get into that, though, we need to do Dan's introductions and announcements. So, I am Adam L. Spain. I'll start us off like I usually do. I am Adam L. Spain at the Inn of Planar Crossroads. That's on YouTube or Rumble. Either one is available and has our stuff on it. BitChute as well. You can check out our webpage. It's innofplanarcrossroads.com or theiopc.com. Either one of those works. It is cell phone friendly and such. Or smartphone friendly, I should be more specific. Got our YouTube, Rumble, BitChute, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Subscribestar, PayPal, and Locals links there. We also have a Patreon if you want to use that. But that's what we have. I don't have any announcements right now. We are going to be, by this time, we've already done some collaboration game with Avenue Studios, trying out a certain other creator's stuff. So why don't I go ahead and transfer you guys over to that other creator, Skrat from A Squirrel Plays.
It's me. That is me, Skrat from A Squirrel Plays. Over on only YouTube. I don't have all the links and can't do a pokey rap like somebody needs to be doing with all of them. But I like to make videos talking about writing and TTRPGs mostly, and then some of the happy overlap that you can find between the two of those. And every so often I get to do an occasional TTRPG review, like I got to do Easy D6 and the new Easy D6 Wasted Worlds, which is very relevant to what we're doing here. That wasn't too long ago, and that was a lot of fun. But I am not limited to just official ones. I get to do, or I'm willing to do, homemade ones. I don't guess I've actually done anybody's other than mine. But there is one coming up, and I'm looking forward to it. So,
yeah,
that'll be fun. But that's all I have.
Okie dokie. And we'll be trying out his. You guys probably would have already seen it if you've gone over to the Avenue Studios by this time, because it happens later this month that we're recording. So, we will have seen the Western squirrels, I think we've decided on. So, Western rodents. Weird West rodents. So, that's the plan. Probably Scratch told me his kind of idea. I haven't decided on mine yet, so we'll have to figure that out. But I think that gets all of our introductions and announcements, which means it's time to shift over and do Levi's Spotlight, which is courtesy of Skrat. It is Tales from Elsewhere. So you can check them out. They are currently at 671 subscribers and are, let me see, we're trying to get them to 1,000. So you can check them out, get them up to 1,000. Tell them that the Inn of Planar Crossroads / Skrat from A Squirrel Plays sent you. And leave them a comment, give them a like, subscribe if you like it. And check that out. I'm interested in checking these out. I like these channels because I can run through their whole catalog without having to get them early. See, run through their whole catalog before everything gets bulked out. So there you go. I think that's everything. You got anything you want to add before we jump in, Skrat?
I don't think so. Not that I can think of. I probably will later, but
in the fourth, halfway through the fourth, chat, you'll think of what you wanted to say.
Well, when I lay down and go to sleep, it's a good time to remember everything.
Fair enough. All right. Well, that means we are done with our introductions. We are done with our shout out. It's time to grab your preferred beverage. Join us around the hearth, probably in the second week of October, with perhaps a fire in it. And discuss with us wild wasteland weather. Wicked wasteland weather. That's what it was. Wicked wasteland weather. Skull.
You thinking of that Wild West game coming up?
Mm-hmm. Looks like your little squirrel packed up. He's ready to go.
He's still excited, man. He's like, let's go.
I'm just waiting for the next couple ones where he's like, oh, no! Oh! Great nut in the sky! All right. Can't use too many expletives before of the nut game before we actually get to it. I gotta save that. So, all right. What we'll do this time is what we did last time. We'll go through some chat points to get ourselves going that I have written down, and then, unless Skrat has some he wants to bring up, we will go into the notes and for the chat for from Avenue Studios, who will be joining us either late this one or for the next one, I believe is their plan. So, let's see.
My money's on the next one.
And my money's on the next one too. All right, we're calling you out, Dan. Calling you out. All right, so my notes for Wicked Wasteland weather are: the natural weather is upset. And I mean that in the sense of, don't just use natural weather. You can, but it's the post-apocalypse. It happened for a reason. Using some not unnatural weather is something that adds a bit of flavor, context. It can even be done for storytelling purposes. And this goes into the next point of using rad or magi storms are great flavor. Either one tells the people what is going on. So if you had radiation storms, like they do in Fallout 4, and they blow through and you catch radiation, like, it doesn't stop you from doing game stuff, but you take penalties. Whereas something more severe like a magi storm in a magical setting, that could upset a whole bunch of stuff. If it's wild magic the whole time the storm is going on, you could have crazy things happen. I did that in one of my settings, one of my fantasy settings, that there was an entire place, because of some previous magical experiments, now had constant magical storms, and they were just then, when this story was taking place, developing a technology where they had an anti-magic field generator that would allow them to make certain avenues through that land and be able to run machinery. But because you couldn't, even in the anti-magic field, it was a thing where if you had magic on this side being practiced and then magic on the other side of the field being practiced, the machine was too weak to pump that out. So that was a thing that I had, and it was effective for deterring people from going in there. So that's something you can use. Give signals of impending dangerous weather. This is important if they're going to have to spend any time out in it, or if you're going to make it any kind of dangerous, which you obviously kind of would want to give some extra drama. Look at old weather patterns if you're looking on, well, I don't want to track the whole time, stuff like that. They have weather pattern catalogs, and since most of our games are set, most of our post-apocalyptic games are set in a pseudo real world that we have, just follow the weather patterns for that day in the area that you were in 50 years ago or something like that, you know? It can be that simple. This goes to the other point of using real maps. Use real weather patterns and just say, no, today it's rainy, or no, today it's this, or no, today it's that. This is really beneficial if you're playing in an apocalypse that happened before our time period, like before where we live today in time. You can go back and actually look at those weather patterns. You can pick up an almanac too. Just picking up an old almanac is a huge resource for telling your players what's happening in the world without having to keep super hard track of it. So it's also a useful storytelling tool to lock down your PCs for that cool story beat that needs to be told. So say you're in a post-apocalypse and you're trying to mix your genres. You're in post-apocalypse, but you've got this mysterious murder that you players need to solve. Well, if there's a storm outside, they're all stuck in the same house. That is something that even storytellers have been using that for a couple centuries now. So that's a fun thing to think about and use. So that's what I have as far as story beat points and stuff. You got anything, Skrat, before we go into the points from Avenue Studios?
Well, let's just do it like we did last time. We'll knock his out first, and then I'll jump in.
Okay. All right. So, Wicked Wasteland weather. We've got the big decision is what state of the environment is in / how it's been affected by the apocalypse. True. Comparing Dr. Stone with Fallout. All right, not a bad. Dr. Stone people are locked away and nature takes back over. So when the characters come in, resources are abundant, but tech is Stone Age to start. So that's something that is a consideration. Then there's the Fallout option where Fallout environment is ravaged. So even though advanced tech is still available to varying degrees, to most, the harsh environment will kill you. And I kind of basically agree with these. I think that people underestimate the amount of stuff you can do with Stone Age technology, even without having the resources that they did. So that is a consideration there, but that's just me. This choice can also affect the feel / vibe of the game. So Dr. Stone wrestles with the darkness of humanity, whilst nature is brutal but pure in simplicity and is bright colors, beautiful scenery, and restoring of civilization. There is kind of that to think about if that's the type of game you want. Like, you want the exploration and stuff, but you don't want to sacrifice the knowledge that we have today. You can run that backwards, basically turning back the clock. That's a Dr. Stone type of thing to do. And Fallout is dark and gritty, less wrestling with the darkness of humanity, but simply surviving it. And now, nature itself is a reflection of the worst we can do. The environment is the reflection of man himself. Not bad. I like those points. What you think, Skrat?
Well, I didn't normally have it written down, and I'm really surprised, but I'm glad I thought of it. I did a video a while back on a game called Dim Day Red, and it's yeah, that's the pre-apocalyptic game. It's
inter-apocalyptic, I think we decided, because it's like happening right then.
Yeah, so technically the world's already going to crap, but the big event hasn't happened yet. So the story in that one is, I forget what man did, but they managed to throw Earth just the teeniest amount out of orbit, and then it's slowly getting closer to the sun. And they figured out, okay, we got 53 years or whatever the time limit is before we just cook. And the game comes with all kinds of maps and lore and stuff. They did a really good job of getting you in the vibe for it. And there's significant chunks of the world that have already become too hot to live. So things are already crumbling. It looks like a post-apocalyptic kind of setting that you're in, that phase, but technically it hasn't ended yet. So but that heat is what you constantly have to worry about. And
it's the worst type of apocalypse, the heat apocalypse.
Yeah, it's just slowly getting hotter and hotter and hotter. You know, if you're out traveling in the sun, you got to watch out for it. Even when you're in the cities, you got to make sure you're staying uncooked. But then, like, the way a lot of the mechanics work with all your, because it's a powered by the apocalypse system, which might mean something to some people. It only kind of sort of means something to me at this point. But the way a lot of your moves work, you will generate heat doing things, and obviously as you get hotter, things get worse. So it's interesting. I did actually get to play not with the head dev himself, but some of his team, because he's gone on to do some other things related in the TTRPG sphere. But I got to play with a couple of them, and then the guy that ran our RPG Stories game, he was playing with us too, and it was a lot of fun. It was my first time in a PubTA system, and first time playing that one too. It was really cool.
Yeah, I've heard solid things about Powered by the Apocalypse. It does have, I think it has a flashback system in it where you can flashback to why you have certain things in your inventory and stuff, in story beats. So that's one of the, if I remember right, that's one of the reasons we brought it up when we were talking about crime dramas and stuff. Was that you can flashback.
Is that a core PubTA thing, or was that just one game that was using that system?
I think it's in the core set, but I don't know if all the different offshoots use it. You guys can let me know in the comments section.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dim Day Red actually is a good one to use for this environmental being a big threat. Because
it's the main threat.
Yeah, it's the main threat then. But you also have, we did mention the EZD6 Wasted World before, for those that smoother, less crunchy type of TTRPG. We didn't mention a lot of other systems last time. I think I'll mention a few more this time. High magic systems, I mentioned that last time. High magic systems do present some problems. Not necessarily for the environment, though. You do have, well, they do for the environment, but not the weather. There's not a lot of spells that are going to change the weather. There are some, but usually, when is that spell available to druids? There's a spell for druids that they can change the weather. It's not terribly high, but it is higher, I think, than most people go in their games. So you can think about that one. Maybe the weather will be a problem. It does eat up resources and slots, which is something we brought up last time. Resources are going to be key. But deciding on whether you're going to have magic or not, if you're going to have magic, then usually it's a magic apocalypse that happens. So bear that in mind, see how that plays out. Oh, I can't believe we forgot to mention Dark Sun last time for fantasy apocalypses. So that's a setting that has a fantasy apocalypse, and there are serious consequences to using magic in that game. And that's how a fairly high magic setting deals with magic, is that it actually consumes life force of the planet and stuff. You're killing the planet by using magic like that. And so there's a huge stigma on it. There's literally not enough life to keep on powering the magic, is why Dark Sun is Dark Sun. So that's something for consideration when you dive in. Let's see.
Control weather is 8th level transmutation.
Oh, 8th
according
level.
to this.
In current 5e?
I think so.
Okay, so it's probably about the same in like Pathfinder 2e, and 3.5. I don't think they changed that level. So that's pretty high up there. You're looking at, what is that, 15th, 16th level or something like that? Where you're getting that spell casting? Not sure, but that's pretty high level. So you shouldn't have to worry too much about that one. So that's a load off your mind, GMs, if you're worried about it.
Yeah, I will also add that Easy D6 Wasted World, I had to pull it up to make sure here. I wasn't fibbing. The end of the world was a storm, though, in that one.
Oh.
It's, let's see. The end didn't go down as anyone expected. It just hit out of nowhere like a freaky psychedelic explosion that enveloped the world. The Psycho Storm, hanging in the sky like a shroud of doom. Mass psychosis broke out, blah, 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 blah. So there is a class you can pick in this that is magic. I'm doing the air quotes here. It is essentially magic. And the instructions even say, yes, this is the magic class. Just use the magic rules from regular Easy D6. gives you a couple points of reference. So
There you
they're what are they called? I think they're just called the Weird. There they are. The Weird. The miasma. That's what they use to. That's their juice.
That's their juju juice. Okay.
Yeah. So.
Gotcha.
It's pretty neat. It's not just Mama Murphy huffing jet. You know, it's a little more to it.
There's a little more to it. I mean, it's true. You can still have the psychedelic experience, I guess, if you want to.
It's the Kims, kid.
It's the Kims, kid. Yeah. You've played it too much if you know where that, that comes up in the dialogue. All right. Well, speaking of Mama Murphy, you can put a Mama Murphy character in there and it'll probably be fine, but,
That's your comment for the video, too, Mama Murphy.
Let me see. It's the Kims kid. Let's do it. It's the Kims kid.
Okay.
That's the one. Still associated with Mama Murphy. It's the Kims kid. So, with the using the weather patterns of the, I suppose you could borrow from from Dim Day Red, as well as the Fallout series and stuff where you have the weather, but it's just accentuated. So on days where it's really sunny, you would have those really, really hot days where you'd have to worry about heat. And then if you want to have those extremes, you can have either the rad storms or the magic storms, or just really hard rains and stuff come through on those days that have rain. Like you could use tornadoes and stuff. I mean, tornadoes, they'll wreck stuff anyway.
Regardless.
So they don't have to be magical. You don't need no magic super tornado to wreck stuff. They'll wreck stuff anyway. So you can incorporate, you can use weather, just pump it up in intensity, and that helps you manage your player's time as well. Time can become a more strongly desired resource when they don't just have all day to do everything. They don't just have a bunch of sunny days at one time, or when they do have sunny days back to back, then they're like, oh man, now's the time to do it. Now's the time to go. Now's the time to get it done. And they have a little bit of extra pressure. If you're making the environment almost its own character, the environment becomes its own, or the weather becomes its own character. And giving those warning signs when that's about to happen, having somebody paying attention, maybe that's something that you shift in there where your nature skill becomes really important for these characters. Someone being able to actually tell when the weather is going to change, not magically, but like they can just watch. They've been watching the weather. They've been looking at the different patterns of the clouds in the sky. They can see the winds blowing certain ways. It's time to go home. Because unless you're from probably Tornado Alley, like I'm near Tornado Alley, so unless you're from the area, you wouldn't know to necessarily watch for a green sky until the tornado comes, and you should have been watching for the green sky. So, that's a way to think about those things. Watching the weather, having that skill actually be important, and having skills in general be important when you can't rely on magic.
I got all these different types of apocalypses here, and I don't think we're going to get to go into any of them.
This wasn't the individual apocalypse one.
Eyeball. I wrote them down anyway.
See, he's just making future notes. See, he can use these later. Skrat has this habit, of putting together a bunch of notes for things that he's not actually going over.
That's true. That's true.
he is a squirrel mind. See, he hoards up these ideas and tries to save them for later. So, all right. I think we're about 20-something minutes in. So, we can probably do a final question, Skrat's final question / our final thoughts. So, did you have a Skrat's final question for this one?
Yeah, I was just sitting here thinking of it. I did have a note about, since our last month was detectives and mysteries and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it would be kind of funny if you had to do a whodunit in a post-apocalyptic town that was right in the middle of rebuilding. Somebody
That happens.
Yeah, but that's more for last month. That would just be a weird setting for that to take place in. So, in a post-apocalyptic setting, regardless of how it happened, what would you consider to be good goals / I don't want to use the word story hooks, but like things to do other than just, hey, survive, don't die, gather materials? Like, what are, in your opinion, good plots to go after, good objectives and goals?
Well, it would depend on what type of game you're going for. If you're going for almost a, hey, we're finally done with this apocalypse, it's fine, we're finally safe enough to rebuild, and there's this upbeat moment to it, then you might do something much more domestic, much more homey. So depending on that danger level, you would say, well, let's go ahead and get this, we're getting all set up and stuff like this. Now we have to keep morale up. We have to keep the vibes up. Go ahead, and you're in charge of, or we're going to need to get the harvest in. But everybody's going to be so tired. What are we going to do to boost morale? Well, a harvest festival. That's what we do. Well, we're about to go into summer, and we're not summer. We're about to go into, what is it? The warmer weather, I guess spring, late spring maybe, where you don't have those chilled mornings anymore. We're going to have a carnival, or a farewell to meat. We're going to have a carnival and cook all the meat that we've stored up so that we can, not have it spoil on us. That's where carnivals came from. No. So you have these, it's a going back to older traditions that were there for a reason. That can be helpful to check that out. Carnivals in the spring, harvest festivals in the fall, summer and fall, depending on what you're harvesting, what you're deciding to grow, things like that. Those are, if you're wanting to take that easy going, and the only real danger is each other to a point, or maybe the weather around you. You can kind of look at how the Wild West did their stuff. In the Wild West, it was wild, but it was so big that the dangers that you faced were there, but it wasn't like every single day. You had all these things pressing in on you. Sometimes the newspapers and stuff just posted about a guy who walked out, fell on the curb, and bumped his head, and now he's dead. It's like, that was a news story in one of the papers. Made the news. Well, if that's what's making the news, there's not a whole lot of crazy things happening. So it depends on the pace you want to take with your game. If you're still in a very, very dangerous situation, like with, not just with the weather being a problem, but beasties and stuff around you being a problem, then you're gonna have to take a more step-by-step goal setting situation. You're just going to have to make sure you can defend against those things. You're going to have to make sure that you can establish borderlines that are safe, fences that work, stuff like that. But if you're going into that agrarian setting already, you can start to ease up on that. So it depends on what you're wanting to do. Are you wanting to play a bunch of animalkin after the humans wipe themselves out and stuff, or what? It's up to you guys. So that would be my answer to that.
I got a setting I have pocketed, but I really want to work on. It is where you're playing a bunch of different animals, and the people have all just disappeared. Like all the buildings are still standing. It's just like they up and disappeared one day, and it's it's a bit into it. Like overgrowth has gotten in all the buildings and stuff. Some things have decayed a little bit, and animals have gotten smarter or whatever and made their own patchwork kind of stuff, walking on two legs kind of thing. So
yeah,
I think it'd be fun.
Play through the decaying of the alliance between the birds and the squirrels.
Yeah.
Once great allies, now mortal enemies.
That's right.
You got to blame the raptors. It was their fault. They just couldn't keep their claws to themselves. That's what it was. Had nothing to do with the lack of the bird feeder being filled up.
Birds are the worst.
So there you go. Did you have an answer for your own question?
No, that was one of those ones like I would like to know.
Yeah.
So, because a lot of times it's just like the games you play, at least video games. It's like, just survive. It's one reason I find Fallout so fun. It's like, yes, you have that entire setting and everything, but like you have an objective to go do, and you're and that one, the apocalypse itself is kind of a mystery. Like you're putting together pieces. How did this actually? I mean, bombs fell, but like who shot first? Where'd the first nuke come from? And then you got the mysteries behind all the vaults themselves. So there's things to discover and do other than just build the settlement.
Right.
Which I know I said in the last episode, I would love a game where that's all you do, but you can't even build settlements right in Fallout. It's pointless. It's fun, but it's pointless.
Well, that's fair. Most, I don't know. You play the Minuteman campaign through it. You can get all the settlements, and it'll be all right.
Yeah.
Preston can't tell you to go and rescue a settlement that's already been rescued, right?
No. My favorite thing about Preston is every time you walk by him, he's like, at least it's not raining. And then if you find him when it's raining, he's like, man, I hope this rain goes away.
He hates the rain. Okay. Well, I mean, if he has to walk all the patrols, I get it.
Yeah.
But
Preston.
Better quit complaining, Preston. That water coming from the sky is cleaner than the water you're drinking out of that radiated pool over there. At least it should be.
I got water purifiers. It's fine.
Fair enough.
They're just a little rusty.
Yeah. It's just a little bit of tetanus to flavor the water,
Yeah.
All right. Well, if we didn't already have a comment, that would have been it. So, we hope you have enjoyed this one. And let me see. As far as our outro stuff, do remember that you can check out inofplanarcrossroads.com or theiopc.com. Either one works. And they will get you to our webpage with our YouTube, Rumble, BitChute, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Subscribestar, PayPal, Locals, and even a PayPal. There you go. There's the rap thing. But
hey, I did it for my skills on nuts. You can do it for all your links.
There we go. But that's that. You can check that out if you'd like. You can check out A Squirrel Plays on YouTube. And his most recent one as of recording is The Bartender. Also, you can go and leave him a comment on tag him in a comment or something like that on the Avenue Studios game saying, yo, watched ya. This system's nuts. So, you can let him know that. You can tell him that's what you think. Definitely not what I told you to say.
Yeah. I didn't hear it. Also, my money was well placed because he's not here yet.
There you go. All right. Also, check out Tales of Elsewhere. We're trying to get them up to 6-7. He's at 671 right now as a recording still. I'll refresh just to make sure. Refresh. 674. We're already making. We're somehow already bringing him in Even though
putting
we're
the
recording.
vibes into the universe. People are picking them up.
Yeah. So we're trying to get him up to 1,000. Get him up to 1,000. Tell him Planar Crossroads and Skrat from Squirrel Plays sent you. And as always, have a great day. God bless and enjoy. Bye.
This content was made possible by travelers and viewers like you. Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to stop this one and check it. It's also bathroom break time if you need it.
Yeah. I'm gonna do it. Give Dan some time.